सैंक्शन जो स्क्वाड्रन है 42 है, 60 साल के बाद सिर्फ 29 काम कर रहे हैं।
I told you the delay is mainly negotiation is going on because of the shortage of money. This financial year don't expect any finalization of the agreement.
With India finalizing deals for more Rafales and fast-tracking the indigenous fighter programs, our Air Force's squadron strength has become a topic of intense national debate. And what's got everyone talking? Against 42 sanctioned squadrons, we have only 29. To understand the gravity of this shortfall, you need to know what a squadron actually represents. Now, it's a combat unit of 18 to 20 fighter aircraft. Each squadron is essentially a sword in our aerial arsenal, and we are missing 13 of these swords. But here's what nobody is talking about. How did we land here? How did a nuclear-armed democracy with global ambitions find itself operating with just 2/3 of its required fighter strength? The answer lies in a decade of systematic sabotage, a 10-year period from 2004 to 2014, when the UPA government did not just fail to modernize our Air Force, they actively destroyed our fighter aircraft procurement capability through a toxic combination of bureaucratic paralysis, corruption paranoia, and sheer institutional incompetence. During the UPA's entire 10-year tenure, the Indian Air Force managed to induct only 122 fighter aircraft, including a mere 82 Su-30 MKIs. To put this in perspective, China was inducting more fighters in a single year than India managed in an entire decade under the Congress rule. The crown jewel of this incompetence was the medium multi-role combat aircraft program, a deal that should have been India's largest fighter modernization effort. Initiated in 2007 to procure 126 combat aircraft, the MMRCA became a 7-year bureaucratic circus that perfectly encapsulated everything wrong with UPA's approach to national security. After extensive trials, the competition was narrowed down to Eurofighter Typhoon and Dassault Rafale on the 27th of April 2011. Rafale was declared the winner based on life cycle cost calculations. But here's where the UPA's institutional dysfunction revealed itself in all its devastating glory. Despite having a clear winner, despite the Air Force's desperate need for modern fighters, despite China's rapid military modernization across the borders, the UPA government embarked on what can only be described as negotiation failure. Lengthy discussions dragged on endlessly between the government and Dassault on prices and technology transfer, with bureaucrats more concerned about potential corruption allegations than actual national security requirements. Now, these negotiations continued till early 2014, but the deal ultimately collapsed in a spectacular fashion. The moment that will forever define the UPA's defense legacy came in February 2014, when the then Defense Minister A.K. Antony delivered a confession that sent shockwaves through India's strategic community. Standing before the nation's media, he admitted that the financial condition of the government was not good and there is no money for this deal. Think about the implications of this statement. A nuclear-armed nation facing aggressive neighbors on multiple fronts was publicly confessing that it could not afford to buy the fighter jets for its Air Force. This was not just a budgetary constraint, this was a strategic humiliation that told our adversaries exactly how vulnerable we had become under the Congress rule. But the MMRCA disaster was just one part of a larger pattern of systematic failure. The Light Combat Aircraft Tejas program, which should have been our indigenous answer to fighter modernization, became another monument to UPA incompetence. The program faced continuous delays due to the supply issues with F-404 engines, but the real problem was not technical. It was the complete absence of project management capability. What began as an ambitious Indigenous fighter program became such a prolonged embarrassment that by December 2016, the Indian Navy was forced to opt out entirely, citing long delays and technical inadequacies, including insufficient thrust-to-weight ratio for carrier operations. Meanwhile, India's defense imports from Russia peaked at nearly $4 billion around 2013 and 2014. But the UPA's weak offset policies and pathetic technology transfer agreements meant this mass expenditure failed to build any meaningful domestic aerospace capabilities. We were spending billions on imports while our indigenous programs collapsed under bureaucratic neglect. The institutional damage was profound. It was systematic. The defense procurement procedure became increasingly convoluted with each revision. The DPP 2005, 2008, 2011, and 2013, each adding more and more layers of bureaucracy while removing the decision-making authority from those who understood operational requirements. The UPA's blacklisting policy became particularly destructive, with companies banned for 10 years based on mere allegations, creating vendor shortages that made competition impossible and costs prohibitive. By 2014, the consequences were undeniable. After a rigorous selection process that declared Rafale the winner in 2012, the entire MMRCA program was scrapped, forcing India into emergency procurement of just 36 Rafale jets instead of the originally planned 126. The squadron strength crisis that haunts our Air Force today, the capability gaps that concern our commanders, and the vulnerabilities adversaries seek to exploit all trace back to a decade of strategic inertia. What should have marked India's aerospace breakthrough became instead a cautionary tale of missed opportunity and fractured momentum.